The big news coming out of the show on Monday was Braun Strowman being pulled from the Universal title match at the Royal Rumble against Brock Lesnar and replaced by Finn Balor. You see, this is what happens when you forget your lines. PW Insider claims that this was actually, in reality, a move that was done not as a last-minute thing, but rather this was a move the WWE came up with a while ago, possibly as many as 4 weeks ago, a month ago, once they realized that they didn't want to beat Braun Strowman at the Royal Rumble for fear that it might hurt his momentum or that it might hurt whatever drawing power he may still have as a top guy. And think about how stupid that is, that they even booked that match in the first place. Imagine booking the match and promoting the match and then realizing, oh shit, he's going to lose. We don't want him to win. He's going to lose again. And we don't want to beat him, so now we have to figure out a way to take him out of the match. I love WWE adopting the shoot first, ask questions later policy, which is always a winner. So this was less a matter of, hey, Strowman had the elbow surgery, he's not physically cleared yet. He may not be cleared yet, but they had every reason to believe that he would be cleared in time for the Rumble. So this has nothing to do really with his injury. Some people are going to say, this is all fake news, this is of the injury. No, it doesn't have hardly anything to do with the injury. It's more, hey, we booked ourselves into a corner. And think about this. Vince McMahon did not want Braun Strowman facing Brock Lesnar again because he feared that it could be damaging to Braun if Braun didn't win, which I guess was never the plan. Okay? Now think about that. Think about the logic here. He's worried about hurting Braun's momentum. As though all of the times that he failed to win the championship before were not damaging enough. I got news for you. That one segment with Brock Lesnar 2 weeks ago, where he forgot his lines, was more damaging than any loss would have been at the Royal Rumble. All those times he came up short before, like last year, I never had that feeling like I had watching that segment from 2 weeks ago. Watching him drown out there in the middle of the ring. I never had that feeling until that segment that this guy does not feel like a top guy in the company. I never had that feeling before until that segment. But yet Vince is very concerned. Wait a minute. We don't want to hurt Braun. The damage has been done. By booking that match, we had that segment, and that segment was a catastrophe. Now, they had Strowman come out on television this week. Baron Corbin came out. He was mouthing off to him from afar. Ran off. Braun chased after him. This is how they did this whole thing. This is how this whole thing went down to get him out of the match. He chases to the back after Corbin. He's looking for him. He's yelling for him. We see a limousine parked. Somebody says, hey, somebody snitched. Said, hey, he's in the limo. Braun goes over to the limo. He breaks the window, glass everywhere. Corbin was in the limo. He gets the hell out of there. And so now Vince McMahon's limousine, because Vince had arrived in this limo at the beginning of the show, is now destroyed. Right? The window's punched out. We see Vince, the camera pans, and there's Vince standing there looking at the limo. He sees Braun. He finds him $100,000. And Braun mouths off to him and says, this piece of crap ain't worth $100,000. And Vince says, oh, really? You want to get fresh with me? You're out of the match at the Royal Rumble. And in response, Braun, he tips over we had the 16 different camera cuts as they edited this together. And we had one of his feats of strength where he overturns the limousine. We've seen him do this before. This seemed to get less of a reaction, by the way. If you listen to the crowd in the background, it's kind of the law of diminishing returns with this stuff. You could tell the crowd is tiring of this act. So he tips over the limousine out of anger. Vince McMahon, later in the show, he comes out for a segment where he's going to announce Strowman's replacement. John Cena comes out to interrupt, and John Cena makes his pitch on why it should be him, and he's going to go win his 17th world title, which isn't really a world title, it's a universal title, but we'll forget that. Drew McIntyre comes out, explains why it should be him. Baron Corbin comes out, explains why it should be him. And then Finn Balor comes out. And this is Finn Balor's big night last Monday. He comes out, he's in the ring, he's sharing the ring with Vince McMahon. He's confronting Vince McMahon, who admits that, he doesn't really believe in Balor. He says Balor's a good hand, and in so many words. He's basically explaining that Balor is a good hand and all of that, but Vince is looking around, and he's like, look at all the beef in the ring. There's a lot of beef out here, Vince says. I'm pretty sure he may have been pitching a tent before Balor walked out there with all of that beef in the ring. Later in the show, they had a fatal four-way. Balor overcame the odds. He pinned John Cena with a double stomp to earn his spot in the championship match against Brock Lesnar at the Royal Rumble. This after a singles win earlier in the show over Jinder Mahal, former WWE champion Jinder Mahal. I am convinced that the only reason they even put the title on Jinder in the first place was for a moment like this. They can use him in a spot like this where they can job him out, but make it sound more impressive because they can call him a former WWE champion. So-and-so just pinned a former WWE champion. That's the only reason I'm convinced, looking back at it, why they even did that. Now, after the main event, Cena, he raises Balor's hand. He says he earned his respect. He gives him the big endorsement. This is what John Cena's role is now. First, he puts over Becky Lynch on SmackDown. Now, Finn Balor on Raw. He's putting over the Irishman here on this show. And Balor has had a very weird run. Let's talk about Finn Balor here, because Finn Balor has had a very weird run on the main roster, right? For all the idiots who use the vanilla midget insult on him, and you don't have to like the guy. If you're not a Finn Balor fan, that's fine. But, the whole vanilla midget thing, it's a derisive term, and yes, if you use it, you are an idiot. For all the idiots who say that and use that phrase on him, he is one of their most popular talents with the live crowds. And I'm not even sure why at this point, considering he's really not done much of anything. He goes out there and gets a big reaction, and everyone's doing the poses and everything with him, and he still seems to be incredibly popular with the audiences. He was the first ever Universal Champion. He never actually lost the title, so there's a built-in story there in that, in over 2 years, they've never really tapped into. They've mentioned it here and there, but they've never really tapped into this idea that Finn now is getting his proper rematch, on a big stage here for the championship that he was never pinned and never made to tap out to lose. And he does own some big wins on television against AJ Styles, against Roman Reigns. So he's had some big matches and some big wins. But again, a weird run because it's never really led to anything. For much of last year, he did not do much of anything. He feuded with Baron Corbin, the kiss of death. What else did he do? What else did he do last year? He smiled a lot. Now, all of a sudden, he is thrust into a championship match against Brock Lesnar. Is it the All Elite effect? Is it what I talked about last week where WWE has been sleeping on some of these guys and is only waking up now because there's possible competition for these people? I think that's part of it. I don't think that's the whole reason, but I think that's part of it. There's another place for them to go now if they're not happy with their position in the company. I'm sure that's part of it. And again, the thing is, I don't get the sense, I haven't talked to the man, but I don't get the sense that Finn Balor is terribly unhappy. I don't even get the sense that he cares much whether he's wrestling for championships or not. This is a man who once told Peter Rosenberg in a radio interview that he was just happy to be on Raw. I'm just happy to be here. It's like Daniel Bryan. Daniel Bryan, once ranked lower than any top star in the history of the company who had taken this ambition test that I guess they give their top stars. I think he talked about this in his book. He took this ambition test once. And they were amazed at the results and how low he ranked. He was like the bottom 1 percentile on the ambition scale. Maybe Balor is the same way. Maybe he's just happy to be there. I still think he's better off going to SmackDown and wrestling Daniel Bryan or wrestling AJ Styles for the WWE title. When I look at the two brands, I still think SmackDown for him is the better fit. But this match, to me, Finn Balor against Brock Lesnar is a match that is far more appealing than another Brock Lesnar Braun Strowman match. So you can throw whatever derisive names you want to throw at Finn Balor. You can call him whatever name you want. This is a more interesting match. If you are the kind of person who wants to see Finn Balor go in there and get demolished, well, you may get your wish. Brock's going to go in there. He may throw him around for 10 minutes and destroy this poor guy. So why wouldn't you want to see that? And if you're a Finn Balor fan, you've got to be happy because now he's finally in a position where he's in a headline match. He's in a position where he could become the champion. So the Finn Balor fans are happy. And the Finn Balor haters out there should be happy as well. Because there's an equally likely chance that this guy is going to get demolished and steamrolled. I'm not saying it's going to be a repeat of what we saw with Cena and Lesnar at SummerSlam. I'm sure he'll get some offense in there. But, again, this is a more interesting match to me. I like the whole, bigger guy, smaller guy dynamic between these two. The question is, and a lot of you have been asking, is he going to show up as the Demon? Is he going to show up in the Demon paint? Now, I once made the mistake here on the show. I made a comment. I said that the Demon character was undefeated. And I was very quickly corrected by people who pointed out to me that the Demon has in fact been beaten before in NXT. And I don't want to hear this nonsense. If it happened in NXT, it doesn't count. Bullshit. Samoa Joe pinned Demon Balor with a muscle buster off the cage in their steel cage match at one of those NXT TakeOver shows. So he has been beaten before with the paint on. He is not undefeated as the Demon character. Should they sacrifice the Demon to the Beast? I think you almost have to market this if they're smart. I mean, there's only a week left, so I guess if they were going to market it, they would have done it already. But to me, this would have been an easy thing to market around the whole Demon versus Beast idea. I mean, how can you not? It just sells itself. It's like people who say, oh, Finn Balor and The Undertaker is another one where you can have the dead man and the Demon, right? The marketing and the promotion just makes all the sense in the world for a WrestleMania match. Well, if they were going to do that match, yeah, that would make sense as far as how you promote a match like that. Same thing here. The Demon and the Beast. And yeah, he is likely going to lose. But again, it would not be the first time. I just don't see, like, let's go in kayfabe mode here. Let's put our kayfabe hats on here, okay? I mean, look, at the end of the day, we're talking about fucking paint on the guy's body. It's not like he's wearing the Infinity Gauntlet. But if we think about this in kayfabe terms, why wouldn't we see the Demon for a match like this? We saw the Demon the first time that Balor challenged Seth Rollins for the Universal Championship. This right here is even bigger than that. This is the biggest match of Finn Balor's WWE career. It calls for an appearance by the Demon. He's going in as the underdog. He should want to summon every power that he has. So if we look at it even in those terms, it makes no sense for him not to come out without the paint on. Balor and Lesnar should be a very good match. Fightful.com had an item about Brock actually wanting to work with Balor, which may be why this is happening. Wanting to work with him, by the way, as far back as last year's Royal Rumble. But Vince didn't think that Balor was apparently over enough for that position. So they went with this awful triple threat instead. But apparently Brock enjoys knocking around the smaller guys like Styles and Bryan. He's smart enough to know. He's not a dumb man. He is smart enough to know he has the best matches. He looks the best when he's in there with people who can do the lion's share of the work and can bounce around for him like a rubber ball. It's a simple formula. Brock suplexes him around the ring for 5 minutes. Balor makes a comeback. Brock fights back. Balor gets this dramatic near fall. F5. Boom. 1, 2, 3. The end result here will be no different than it was with Punk. It will be no different than it was with Styles. And it will be no different than it was with Bryan. But that doesn't mean they can't have a very good match. The only way, people say, is there any chance that Finn Balor can win this match? Of course, there's always a chance. The only way I see Balor winning the championship is if they do what they did with Lesnar and Eddie, to go back to that, at No Way Out. That was where Bill Goldberg interfered in the match. He attacked Lesnar. That set the stage for Eddie to hit a big move off the top rope, the frog splash, and win the match. Here it could be Braun Strowman in the Bill Goldberg position, pissed off, right? He's been removed from the championship match. He's been screwed over by Vince McMahon. He interferes. There's a ref bump. He interferes. Lesnar's down. Balor goes up top, hits the double stomp, and gets the win. That is the only scenario in which I could possibly envision them taking the title off Brock here and putting it on Finn Balor. And I don't see them doing that. Although I wish they would, because that would play perfectly into the prediction that I made on the prediction show a few weeks ago, when I still thought it was going to be Lesnar and Strowman, which is that Brock drops the title. In this case now it would be to Finn Balor. Styles regains the WWE Championship from Daniel Bryan at the Royal Rumble. Seth Rollins wins the Royal Rumble match and swerves everybody by choosing to challenge AJ for the title at WrestleMania and not go for the SummerSlam rematch against Finn, which they can really tease this out for a few weeks before Rollins makes his choice, or they can just say, fuck it, and they can have him announce it. They could have Dashabot get into the ring when the Rumble match is over, and he can just announce his choice that night. Whatever they choose to do, that's what they did with Nakamura last year. But Rollins chooses AJ, which would make for an incredible match at WrestleMania. Seth wins. He's the man on SmackDown now. Meanwhile, AJ goes to Raw after WrestleMania. So you swap the two. That was the idea that I had pitched. As far as Balor, what do you do then with him at WrestleMania? There's two good choices as I see it. If he were to win the championship and go into WrestleMania as the champion, there's two good options here for the Universal title match. You can have Drew McIntyre win the Raw Elimination Chamber match and get the shot, and then it's Drew and Finn at Mania. That's one choice. Or, and I kind of like this idea better, Kevin Owens is due back very soon. And I know that the news is that they may hold off on him until the night after WrestleMania, but you know what? I don't completely buy that. Depending on exactly when he's medically cleared, you could always have Kevin Owens as a surprise entrant in that Elimination Chamber match. He could win it, and he could challenge Balor for the championship at WrestleMania. There is a history there from NXT if they choose to acknowledge it. Balor's the one who dethroned Owens as the NXT champion. They could draw on that if they want to. They don't have to. I don't know what they would do with Brock then if he's not the champion going into Mania. But this is a scenario that I actually really like. But I admit this is all very unlikely. I think it's one F5 and it's over. Thank you for coming. Just like with Joe, just like with Braun, just like with AJ, just like with Daniel. Although with Daniel, he hit two F5s. But Brock pulled him up after the first one, so that really doesn't count. I think all of the Balor Club members need to temper their expectations if they think he's walking out of Chase Field with that title. I also really hope that this doesn't mean that Strowman is winning the Royal Rumble and wrestling Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania. Any interest that I had in seeing that match is long gone. Long gone. And I know I'm not the only one who feels that way. And it's not just that bad segment from 2 weeks ago that I keep harping on. The last, I would say, probably, 3 to 5 months maybe. Braun is just cold as a block of ice for me. Whatever it was that he had last year, it ain't there no more. He can be a player on Raw, but as far as, WrestleMania main event, challenging for the championship, look, Billy Graham might touch himself as he dreams and fantasizes about another Strowman-Lesnar match at WrestleMania, but I won't.